Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rock. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. And on today's stream, we're going to be doing something rather interesting, I think. We're going to be looking at the surveillance capitalist observations and theories of none other than PewDiePie. So that's right, a YouTube heavyweight is weighing in on the discussion about surveillance capitalism. And I just feel like it's at the moment some crazy fest. Like, of all these people that are getting down with this idea, it's becoming like popularized, let's say. So, yeah, today's going to be a special one. We are reacting to something that I honestly didn't expect to see. PewDiePie, one of the biggest content creators on the planet, openly criticizing Google and moving away from its services in the name of privacy. Okay? So, like, we've been following on this channel for a while now, for the entire year, digging deep into surveillance capitalism, data extraction, and what Shoshana Zuboff and others refer to as Techno Feudalism. She refers to it as surveillance capitalism. We've talked about our digital lives, how we have become commodities almost in this surveillance capitalist world created and curated by the tech bros, how everything from our clicks to our biometric data is up for sale. And this is, I'm assuming, PewDiePie's reach or ability to bring these ideas into the mainstream. This is what I'm assuming this piece of content is going to be about, because we're going to react to this live. So it's pretty surprising, but like, I am hopeful then. I am rather hopeful, actually, that this means a turning point for the vast majority of people out there. Like, look, PewDiePie's got like, what, 100 million subscribers or something like that? 110 million subscribers. And so, like, you know, the job on this channel, the point of this movement is to bring about workers' consciousness. Now, if somebody like PewDiePie can throw out a video that says, I'm done with Google. Let's get the thing up for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Here it is. A video called I'm Done with Google on YouTube, who obviously YouTube is owned by Google, which is owned by the parent company Alphabet. If someone like him with like 110 million subscribers can throw up a video on their own platform criticizing them, and you can get 4.5, almost 4.6 million views in the space of, what is it, 2 days? No, that's not right. 3 days. In the space of 3 days, that is, I believe, absolutely incredible in terms of its audience reach capability, its ability to touch and reach out to the working class. So, you know, something for us to think about, that somebody with this ability to reach so many members of the working class is doing something like that. You know, you couldn't pay for reach like that. Like, even if you went on like commercial television or something like that, you know, you'd be pretty happy if you got in front of 4.5 million eyeballs. Voltateur, sup, bruh? How are you? It's good to see you. Thanks for doing the roll call. I've got a few people watching this, and I've got one person in the chat saying hi. So if you are able, don't be shy, and please say hi. I'll just check the stream chat to make sure I haven't missed anything. Yes, I have in the stream chat already. Whoops. Yo, yo, yo. What's up? What's up? It's Avalava. This topic is a vibe. You are the commodity for these free services, mystery. You're well aware data is the new oil. I am well aware. And I love saying it too. It's one of my favorite things to say. I've been saying it for years now, but I've been ramping up the use of it ever since we went down this massive 5-month long rabbit hole, almost 6 months long now, rabbit hole into the new phase of the capitalist mode of production, one ruled by tech bros. So, here we are. So anyway, let's see what PewDiePie has to say for himself. I have high hopes, like I said. Like with reach like that, you can talk to the working class and get like a message across to a lot of people. Yo, indoctrination, what you do, big? Well, we are doing a suggestion of yours, actually. This is something that you put in the Discord, and like I have been mulling over a lot recently about how better to reach a larger audience and get to members of the working class and the working people of the world. And you got to meet them in their own arenas. And what better to do that with, like I've been saying, with like going through and looking at somebody that has incredible reach over like the average people of the world, of the English speaking world, someone like PewDiePie, who can, drop something on someone's platform that directly criticizes their own platform and like still get away with 4.59 million views on something. If someone like me drops something openly criticizing Google on YouTube, like, it'd get 5 views and it'd be shadow banned kind of thing. But like not with this guy. So like let's meet working people where they're at, and let's see if we can add to this conversation somehow, or clear up some things that I think need to be cleared up. Remember to set up sponsor block in FreeTube if you didn't already. Otherwise, we get a dose of his G Fuel embedded ad. Up to you though. Okay, I might do that outside of a stream though. I did forget to set that up, but thank you for the reminder. I do need them. Let's be honest. Now, if you are joining us on the arse end of the weekend, or you've actually finished your weekend, depending where you're coming from, if you're still enjoying the weekend, you're coming to us internationally, congratulations to you. You're still enjoying that one point in the week where capital can't touch us. If you worked over the weekend or if you finished your weekend, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. And if you're back to the grind, then like my thoughts go out to you. I understand the sentiment and I hope you all the best. So if you are joining, like I said, and you're potentially working and just listening in the background, I understand that and I do appreciate it. But if you could say hello to let me know that you're here, that would be lovely. Mario came to say, what's up? Mid shit at work. Well, thank you for saying what's up. I do appreciate that. And I hope your shit is like, you mean literal mid shit at work. Maybe you are having a toilet break. I hope that is extensive and gives you as much of a break as possible. Remember, working people have fought for these types of breaks in your daily schedule. And so like take advantage of them where you can. There's nothing like getting paid to do a shit on the boss's time. Let's be honest. I usually listen to these while I play COD, but wanted to let you know you're killing it. Thank you, Mario. I appreciate it. I don't know, Mario, if you've actually been on a stream before and spoken. I'm not sure if I recognize the name. So if that is you and it's your first time commenting, then thank you for doing the roll call. I do appreciate it. Yo, they earn $1, you earn a dime. So always shit on company time. There it is. Boss makes $1, I make a dime. I'm in the Discord. Okay, cool. So you're across all the vibes then. But yeah, thanks for doing the roll call today. So yeah, my name is Frank Wisner. Okay, good. Thank you. That helps because yeah, everybody's got a different pseudonym, and like I just can't keep up with it all. But like, thank you. Dilemmas. Alrighty, I'm ready to comment on the commentary of the content creator that's commenting on the other content creator creating commentary. That is an inception shit, but that's pretty much what we're doing today. And like, this is something that we may be doing more of if these big heavyweights of the YouTube world continue to comment on the surveillance capitalist nightmare that we live in, dystopian reality that we live in, indoctrination, meta. Yeah, that was well-crafted dilemmas style comment there. So yes, get your fingers ready. I hope you're ready to type, because I'm ready to see what this guy has to say for himself. Now, I'm not I don't know much about PewDiePie, so if you guys want to fill in gaps for me as we go along, if there's any context that I should know about, drop it in the chat, or drop it in the Discord and the stream chat or anything like that. But I'm going to become acquainted from this angle, because, if it is true and this person is highlighting the struggle between, I guess, the tech bros and everybody else, working people, general consumers, and the consumer class is a large spectrum. Anyone from people in business to just general members of the population. It'll be interesting to see how this struggle is developed. Squeeb89, hey ho, welcome for the Monday roll call. It's good to have you. To have you is nice. So let us start, shall we? I don't want to go on for too long. Let's see what PewDiePie has to say, and then we'll reflect afterwards. Let me just check if my multiple streams are going. Guess they are. I am on TikTok today as well, so if you are over there and you want to join us from the TikTok world, then let me know. I can give you a link to that. All right, let's have a look-see, shall we? Get my headphones. I'm really interested to see what the mainstream has to say about these type of issues. I'm assuming it's going to be very personal. It's all going to be from his perspective and how it's hurt him. But if it raises awareness, it is what it is.
Maybe you're wondering, why is he wearing that cool hat? It's because the tech overlords are listening. Now I can finally say, Google schmoogle. What are you gonna do, Google? You're completely powerless now. What's that? Google owns YouTube? I would Google that, but I literally can't. What are they gonna do? Censor this video? Demonetize it? Bury it under the algorithm? You're completely powerless, Google. You got nothing on me. So the past couple of weeks, I've completely de-Googled. I don't use any of Google's so-called free services, except YouTube. I literally can't escape. It's surprisingly hot to wear a tinfoil hat. I don't know if you guys knew this. Well, you never worn a tinfoil hat before? Now, this all started because of privacy concerns. Being tracked with literally everything I do just feels kind of odd. Mainly because I wanted to also regain control over my software and not to be at mercy of what the tech overlords decide to do just one day. But most importantly, I don't want to pay $20 a year for 100 gigabyte storage. Not happening. I realized since swapping to Linux, my life has just been going upwards. I'm practically ascending next step. But I realized there's always an open source alternative, and a lot of times they're better. They just don't have $1 billion budget to market themselves. So I went down the de-Google rabbit hole, and I want to share what I learned, because by the end of this, once you know what I know, bro, you're gonna want one of these cool hats as well. So let's go through the de-Googleization. I want to be honest and share what I think you should absolutely change.
Does anyone actually think you can de-Googleize? This is an interesting position to take on this one, because I'm not sure if it can actually happen. Once you're in, it's like kind of joining the mafia. You sign in blood somewhere and they've got you forever. I don't know if you can really de-Googleize, but whatever. Dilemmas. I think we need to start with big questions. Is it PewDiePie or PewDiePie? Ooh, big questions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're asking the big ones. These are massive, massive questions that plague the human race itself. So tell me your thoughts. Squeeb says 20 minutes plus 20 minutes video, 23 minute plus video must be tailored to the algorithm. Mario, I'll link his account in the Discord after work. And Squeeb, he sounds like a respect my privacy tour type guy. Well, you know, why not, hey? Respect our privacy. Respect my authority. And respect my sovereignty, actually. My sovereignty is, as an individual living in a liberal society, I should be able to have control over the information that I create. It's a very fundamental question in the surveillance capitalist world and argument against such. So, like, you know, why not? Why not have a little bit of respect for people's privacy? Indoctrinating, yeah, mostly, but there's a few little things like YouTube that we still need to replace. And it's funny because he said he completely de-Googleized, but he still uses YouTube, so he hasn't de-Googleized. Like, I don't know if it's actually possible. Dilemma is you can de-Google. You just got to buy one of those Eric Prince's fancy phones, because what's not to trust about the founder of Blackwater? Yeah, you actually literally have to get off like everything. And, you know, start using like Apple products so you could be surveilled by somebody else. So like you might be able to get away from Google, but it's got your information and it tracks you through third parties. So like I would argue that, like, given their setup and the way that they make agreements with other companies, they're probably going to track you anyway. Let's be honest. Squeeb 89, he's made his money. Now he wants his privacy. Yeah, that's a pretty good call, actually. Hey, absolutely great call. It's one of your finest, Squeeb. I think I might frame that one. Voltator, yes, you can. Just need to start new accounts and start installing non-tracking software. Just use Google stuff for using social media in terms of growing your business. Interesting. But like, you still have to give them private information when it comes to your business. Like, this is a great segue. Thank you for bringing it up. But like, I've recently got invited into the YouTube partner program because obviously I spend enough time streaming now, and they think that they can make money off me, obviously through super chats or something like that. And so like, if you have a look at your chat window there, you can probably see potentially, I don't know what it looks like from your end, a super chat option. But like, even if you use it for business or something, they want your private information, they want your tax information. Like, they'll get it somehow. I'm sure they'll get it somehow, the bastards. Indoctrinathan, of course he wants his privacy. That's why he moved to Japan. Oh, really? There you go. See, all these things I have no idea about. Why not? Why not get a little bit more privacy, as Sweep aptly has called out, once you've made your millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars off this platform that scrapes people's data and obliterates their privacy so they can feed ads to you. And you're an ad vehicle. I'm an ad vehicle too, apparently. Dilemma is, if you move to Japan, it's for the poontang, not the privacy. Ah, that's good. That's good. It's for the poontang. I haven't heard that word in ages. It's a fucking great word. Can I just say? This guy is pretty rich, actually. He's been around for quite some time on YouTube. Yes, you can actually get rid of Google completely. All right, so like, look, obviously I am in the absolute minority on this one. This video is good intro to getting off Google. It's a good introduction. Okay, look, I'm obviously in the minority in this conversation, and I don't think you can get off it. You can fully kick the habit. It's like one of those things where you need like an AA type of program to stay off it forever. And like, you need to continually talk yourself up into some type of elated feeling and sensation to be able to make it through the day without getting back on Google. But like, you know, if you use any type of Android technology, they've got you. They've got you. And even if you don't use any apps, but you're still using Android of some, which is like 50% of the phones out there, let's be honest, at least 50% of the phones out there, even if you're not using Google stuff like, you know, Gmail or Google's multitude of apps and devices, the plethora of YouTube services as he aptly says, are free, they still control Android and they can still track you. This book, if you're looking in the stream chat, ladies and gentlemen, this book that guides you through the whole process. Keep it in mind, though, it's called Extreme Privacy for a reason. Again, from my local library. I love a local library. So good. Hey, love a local library. You anarchist, you. In Dr. Nathan, he already has a wife and a child, so I think it was for the privacy and his wife's fashion business. That's his cover story. Dilemmas is onto something. It's for the poontang. Don't you forget that, Indoctrinathan. Don't you forget that. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a moment to talk to our Lord and Savior, Linux? Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. Let's have a look.
And maybe what was more hassle than worth. Number 1, your search engine. Change your search engine right now. You can do it now while I keep yapping. Just go to your browser settings, find the search default browser, and change it to DuckDuckGo. It's a search engine that doesn't track what you do. It just works. Boom. Maybe you prefer everything you do online to be tracked and logged. I don't know. Maybe you're in that ballpark. I think just most people are either oblivious or lazy. So I'm telling you now, don't be lazy. Number 2, your browser. When I told you to change your default search engine, you did not just do that inside of Google Chrome, did you? Say it ain't so. There are way better browsers out there. I use Firefox. It's kind of B tier, but you can lock it down into S tier. A lot of people swear by Brave browser. I never tried it. My point is, this is super easy to change. And have you ever thought why browsers are free to begin with? Why is Microsoft why do they want you to use their browser so goddamn badly, you know? Why do they all make it free? Could it be because they track everything you do online and sell or trade your data? What? What do you mean? They don't make this out of the goodness in their heart? You telling me Google isn't just $1 trillion charity? What? I found online that in 2023, Google paid Apple to be their default search browser in Safari. Guess how much? 20 billion. Jesus Christ. They definitely want you to use Google. So just don't. It will take you 2 minutes. Go do it. Number 3, the third thing I changed. Like many of you, I've been using Google Mail for years and years and years. And apparently up until 2017, that's when they stopped scanning your emails to serve you ads. So now Gmail is a little less creepy, you know, but if you think about it, it is probably the most invasive service that they run. And there are free alternatives out there like Proton. I haven't tried it out. I decided.
Anyone use Proton? Anyone? I'd like to know. I would like to know more. Sorry, I gave my heart and soul to MS-DOS. There we go. Yeah, Proton. It's a good option. If anyone's been around the block and thought about it. Like, the only reason that I know about Proton was about, 3-4 years ago. Somebody contacted me. This is a crazy story. 4S keeps telling me that I should make content out of this. I can neither confirm nor deny my usage of Proton. And that's a Proton user right there. So, 4 years ago, I was making content, like early days kind of stuff, and someone from China contacted me and was like, can we talk? I want to talk about Marx and revolution and all this sort of shit. Anyway, and they were like, but it's not safe to talk here. Do you have Proton? And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Are we speaking the same language here? So Voltaire, this guy goes a little further into this video. I saw that one come up, actually. I haven't looked at it yet. Thank you. Some ordinary gamers. Yeah, so this guy from China contacted me, but like it wasn't safe to kind of speak through certain means because he was saying that he's heavily censored by activities due to, let's just call it the firewall in China. And so it's difficult for them to have conversations about stuff. And so he wanted to speak about like Hegelian philosophy and like revolutionary Marxism and my take on stuff because he was part of a revolutionary underground Marxist revolutionary society in China that was like ideologically opposed to what the Chinese Communist Party was doing. And this person who risked a lot, I guess, potentially anyway, to talk to me about this type of stuff and voice their opinions on all this type of stuff. used Proton, and they thought that was secure enough to get around issues with the Chinese Communist Party. I don't know, but that was their preferred method. And shortly afterwards, maybe like 2 weeks after we started speaking, they stopped reaching out or responding. So some ordinary gamer is a right-wing gamer. Gate grifter. There it is. Scathing call there from Indoctrinathan. Kind of sounds like a Chinese psyop. Yeah, and it's very specific Chinese psyop, can I just say? Like, 100 subscribers at the time. Not the best person to, induct into some type of, I don't know, espionage program or something, but it was interesting. And they told me some crazy shit about, like, what they're up to in China and what they deal with, which was absolutely incredible conversation. But they disappeared, so like who the hell knows? But they thought Proton was a good option.
I just send this bitch and get my own email. I paid a small fee. It was fiddly as hell. But at least people won't think I'm poor and have like Google Schmoogle in my ad domain. Number 4. With me de-Googling lately, I realize it's time for me to de something else. I don't want to say the joke. Anyway. I started working with G Fuel 6 years ago. G Fuel sponsor!
It happened, Avalavo.
We created the greatest flavor of all.
Honestly.
So many great slurps. Retire this guy. Because we're introducing a new box. You get the t-shirt. That's worse than having Google in your subdomain. It's available right now. Check it out. Link in the description. Finally. Don't miss this opportunity to be part of history. We got many more exciting G Fuel announcements. I have a Google phone. Got a tune. Number 5, your phone. I have a Google phone. God damn it. Everything is Google. It's crazy. I didn't realize this is how deep I've been swept into this ecosystem without realizing it. My goddamn TV is Google. I thought it was a Sony TV. Open up, it's like Google TV. How did that happen? I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm supposed to be enamored by the phone, how amazing it is with its incredible hardware, and how powerful it is. But if it's so great, then why do I feel like I'm the product? Huh? I hate my phone. Notifications just feel like they're there to suck me in, not to tell me anything useful. All these apps and features. I feel like my attention span is just getting mushed the more I use my phone. I hate it. It's just one big giant distraction device. So I have a Pixel 9, and it is a good phone. And I already own it, so instead of switching it out to like a dumb phone or something like that I know a lot of people do, I wanted to install a custom OS on it. There was a lot of them to choose from, but I opted for Graphene. Mainly because it felt like the biggest point the finger to Google, It's an operating system focused on privacy and security. Apparently so much so...
I'm not sold by this. I'm telling you, I'm not sold by this one at all. But whatever, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to contact my research assistant to see if this can be done. It can be done. Let's have a look here. See, what do you call it? Graphene. Has anyone used graphene before? I would like to know more. Tell me if you use Graphene OS on your Android phone. Can you please explain what Graphene OS is? Graphene is a privacy and security focused mobile operating system based on open source Android platform. It's designed to replace the operating system on Pixel phones, Google smartphones, and offers significantly stronger security and privacy protections than standard Android. Key features: privacy and security first, no Google services by default. Graphene OS does not come with Google Play. Do you reckon he was sponsored by Graphene OS to make this video? Like, just putting my conspiracy theory hat on. NordVPN. Interesting. I wonder. That was a small jab at poor people. Ari the email. Yeah, I know, right? That was an easy and a cheap shot. I can neither confirm or deny my usage of Graphene OS. It's legit though. It's an open source software. Look, I'm sure it's legit, but the question really is, and the premise of this video so far, like, correct me if I am wrong here, is de-Googleizing. And Dr. Nathan, I don't listen to anything Muta says except for computer software reviews. He actually knows what he's talking about there, but he uses that platform to spout right-wing talking points. It's unfortunate. Who thought that software people would have to actually get political? Can't they just stick to the software? Hardware hardening and exploiting mitigations. Memory safety features are enhanced. Kernel and user space hardening against exploits. Modern minimal UI. Looks very similar to stock Android with minor visual changes. Van Adium browser. A hardened version of Chromium developed by Graphene OS with team with extra security patches. Supports Aurora Store. The other app repositories like F-Droid for installing. Ooh, that's an interesting one, because it's quite hard to exist in these worlds without like having to go through somebody else's app store and trying to exist and get the multitude of apps out there that you actually want without going to official app stores and stuff, or the big boy app stores. Also, if you want good tech review that's right wing but doesn't use the platform to spout BS, Lewis Rossman is your guy. Thank you for the recommendations. Device compatibility officially supported only on Google Pixel devices due to their robust hardware-backed security features. So it's on a Google phone only. It's not just anything that runs usually with an Android operating system. That's crazy. So like his recommendation to de-Googlify or de-Googleize, whatever you want to call this, is to buy a Google phone and then expect to use somebody else's operating system on it, and Google will not track you ever again. This does not sound like a whole-proof plan, can I just say? It's a secure, de-Googled version of Android built for privacy and hardened security. It only works on Google phones. I don't know, man. This is not sounding very de-Googly to me. Well, it picked up de-Googly really well. That's hilarious. Why not Samsung, OnePlus, or others? Most other Android manufacturers lock down their bootloaders or make them difficult to unlock safely, delay or skip updates, add proprietary firmware and apps that Graphene OS cannot control. Interesting. If you want to use Graphene OS, you'll need a compatible Pixel device, ideally a newer model, to get the most up-to-date security features and longest support window. Interesting. It's an FU to Google in a way too. What, buying a phone of theirs and then installing an OS that runs their phone without them being able to control you? I recommend also checking Richard Stallman and one of his speeches. He's ideologically motivated for free and open source software. Okay. Look, I'm all for open source software. I just don't think that you can de-Googlify by getting some separate OS on a piece of hardware that is manufactured by Google itself. The hardware is the device that tracks you. The software is the conduit. It's the median that, like, it connects with the outside world, but it's the hardware itself that does the job. Like, it's the hardware. Like, you can turn these things off. They design these phones specifically, and the Android systems themselves, like, you can turn the thing off and it's still mapping your environment and can pick up signals, and it does things while it's turned off. They've deliberately designed them to be able to do this. And like, I only know this because I've read it through stuff like, Shoshana Zuboff. Like, I'm not a tech wizard by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know all about this sort of stuff, but like, it maps its environment, it tracks you and picks up signals when it's not even online. It's the hardware itself that is the problem, I believe. So like, de-Google filing yourself, it's just like, let's just make it harder for them to scrape information. That's what this video should be called. Let's make it more difficult for Google as opposed to getting rid of it altogether. I think that's an important distinction anyway. It only works on Google phones because they make the OS and the phone, and allows developers to make these kinds of changes while still being secure. It's ironic that you have to buy one of their phones to do this. Ironic. It's a little bit problematic, I would say. But like, this is me with my tinfoil hat on, in the style of dilemmas, watching somebody who has their tinfoil hat on, and commenting on their tinfoil hat type of theories. So, it's tinfoil hat inside tinfoil hat going on here. But, it is what it is.
That even Edward Cullen uses it. Did I get that right? I would Google it, but apparently so much so that even Edward Cullen uses it. Did I get that right? I would Google it, but I can't. But here's the thing, okay? For some reason, I feel like I'm the crazy one. Huh? What? Why do you want to Google so bad, huh? What do you got to hide, huh? This guy got graphene on his phone. What's up with that? I feel a little judged, okay? But after using graphene, I realize, no, this is how it should be. I'm not the crazy one. There's a few features on graphene that I really like, and these are just to name a few. Especially with security, I really like how they amped it up, but the fact that I close an app on graphene and it closes the app. Crazy. A lot of times on your phone, if you think you've closed an app, but in reality, running in the background and still tracking whatever it is they want to, graphene, nuke that shit. It's gone. Such a crazy concept, right? I'm the crazy one. Number 2, I control exactly what the app has access to. You can use file or storage scopes, I think it's called. And if I want to give an app access to a certain type of files, I pick which folder. Not the entire device, as it should be. Not some vague little pop-up going like, hey, do you want to give them access to this? No, complete control. Number 3, whenever you install an app on Graphene, it asks you before installing it, hey, do you want to give this app access to your internet? Because a lot of times the answer is, heck no, not happening. I realized I was trying desperately to find a keyboard that has Japanese, Swedish, and English. I really like the Swift kind of typing, I just couldn't find an open source alternative, and I was like, what do I do? And then I realized the alternative is Microsoft or Google, okay? And I realized the keyboard that they offer is connected to the internet. Why? Why? Imagine you bought a physical keyboard and it was secretly connected to the internet, sending big tech everything you typed. We're not doing anything weird, just trust us, bro. It's so messed up. On Graphene, I still have the option, and if I want to take a Google app, I can starve it, put it in one of those. I still don't like that I use a Google app, but no, actually it's good. Google is at my mercy for once. Feels good. Another feature that I think is kind of obvious and most people would appreciate, but there was a 4th hidden feature on Graphene that I love. That it is.
Is he getting fucking paid by Graphene for this? Like, I gotta know. I need my research assistant. I need somebody out there to tell me, because this is just too convenient. I feel like we are watching Pew go crazy like Britney did. Bikini sword dancing when. Indoctrinating how to make it harder to let Google scrub your phone for data. Doesn't make a good video title though. Yeah, fair enough. I guess I need to go back to my marketing classes to fix that one. I hear ya. It's just misleading. Let us ask I want to ask my research assistant again. If you have a phone that runs using Android technology, is it truly possible to stop Google from tracking you, even if you use other operating systems and software that are not native to Google or owned by Google? Now, this is potentially a hallucination. So you have to understand, or you have to decide whether you want to listen to this or not. You want to listen to OpenAI's AI generated slop, and you want to hear what it has to say about Google, a competitor of it. All right. But like, here's what it says. You can significantly reduce Google's ability to track you, but it is extremely difficult, maybe even impossible, to eliminate it entirely if you are using Android-based hardware and firmware. Android does not equal Google, but also kind of equals Google. Okay, that was interesting. The core of Android is open source. Android open source project, but most Android phones come preloaded with Google's proprietary software. So all of the usual stuff that's in there. These services collect and transmit the data, often in the background, and if you never open a Google app. Even with Google services removed, there are deeper risks. Firmware, closed source parts. Most phones include proprietary closed sourced firmware, modem, band-based GPU drivers, which could contain tracking or exploitable code. Carrier level tracking. Okay, this is where I need some tech people. I need a Squeeb or an Avalava or someone like that to like make sense of this language for me. But like what I'm hearing here is like my original speculation was there is hardware in there in the actual phones itself that run with Android technology, and phones that have been designed to be compatible with Android technology that can do the tracking also. It's not just about the operating system. Your SIM provider can track your location and activity regardless of OS, network level metadata, even encrypted traffic levels leak metadata. And this is what I said, like even Google, like there's so much stuff out there on like how you don't even have to be on Facebook, right? For Facebook to have a profile on you. Like there's a lot of people out there that like staunchly opposed getting on the Facebook gravy train and like try to abstain as hard as they could from like social media and stuff like that. But Facebook has profiles on them because when their phones or their technology comes in close relation with other people, they can pick up information about those persons, and they pay third-party apps. They pay third parties to get information on you. So like when you go through and you download some game for free, or you're using some app or technology for its convenience, usually it's free, but like let's just say you've paid for it but it's convenient. It says, you know, your data's picked up and being sent on to third parties. If you actually look at the third-party agreements for like lots of apps and stuff like that, like first in line is someone like Facebook to get access to that information. Not other companies that are looking to push their products or something like that, or like marketing firms or massive data mining companies. Facebook knows the game, which is if you are a surveillance capitalist and you want to live in the world where data is the oil of the 21st century, you need to collect as much data as you can, and you need to profile people. If you can profile as much of the world's population as possible and get information on them personally and move them into clusters of people, you can understand people better, you can manipulate them better, and you can control entire markets better, or sections of the economy, industries, what have you. And so like even these people your Googles of the world, your Facebooks of the world, so your Metas, your Alphabets, they are the first in line to scrape data from third parties. So I don't actually think if you've got hardware inside your phone that can be picked up by your service provider, can be picked up by people that, you know, control your SIM card, or somehow have connections to the actual hardware that you're using, it's usually people that are first in line for this stuff are other surveillance capitalists, so they can, again, control the market better. They can get a better understanding of what's going on there because they have the money to do this. Like Meta, $1 trillion company. Alphabet, $1 trillion company. These people can pay for this stuff that nobody else can pay for. Avalava in the stream chat says, Google made a change recently to potentially reduce the Graphene OS team's ability to keep making the OS because they still rely on the firmware of the phone. I hope this will push them to start making their own hardware through Chinese vendors, as they have the skills to do this, but whether or not they've caught up to Google is still up in the air. That's a very interesting concept. And like, here's the other thing about like this surveillance capitalist world we live in. The surveillance capitalist world of these big evil like tech bros who steal your privacy all the time or invade your privacy all the time. There is an actual Cold War going on, a technological arms race between America and China. And whether you believe that China has some type of ideological edge over the top of people like Google or Meta or the Silicon Valley tech lords that want to basically take over and control the human race, if you believe that they have an ideological edge and like they're better because, you know, they're not surveillance capitalists at the end of the day, they're still controlled by the CCP or something like that, they're still a state capitalist. The Chinese Communist Party, they run as a state capitalist, and so they control companies and they control data, and they definitely surveil people. They control data and use it like the big corporations do to surveil their populations and control. So if you can't get your hardware from things that are made in China, probably anyway, but made for the likes of Google, and so you're not using American hardware, which is made in China, and then you start using Chinese stuff, so you start to, I don't know, make your own phone, but you're using Chinese hardware instead. Like, that information, that technology is probably somehow going to be linked to surveillance capitalist or surveillance capitalistic tendencies or practices within China. You can't really escape. And this, I think, is the broad picture of surveillance capitalism that we have to understand. It's surveillance capitalism as a development and a form of a mode of production. And so whether, you know, it's being done by the Chinese or the Americans or this company or that company, it is the data that is an important resource, just like surplus value is an important resource. And like whether it's the Chinese Communist Party who controls the labor force to extract surplus value, or in America it is the corporations that control surplus value production to extract additional value. Sorry, it controls the labor force to extract surplus value. It's the same here, whether you're going to be mined by the Chinese through hardware or through the Americans through hardware, you're still getting fucked either way. So like, I just don't know. Maybe if you can really do Googlefy yourself or de-Google yourself, you still have to sell yourself somewhere to whoever produces the hardware that makes these phones. So it's an interesting situation nonetheless. But like, in a surveillance capitalist society, I don't know if you can really escape surveillance, which is what we're fundamentally talking about, or we have been talking about for months now. This becomes a PR and movement kind of thing. Yeah, it does, actually. You know, if you really wanted to control this type of hardware and make it more ethical, though, you could do what we speak about like all the time, which is you would seize the means of production. You would like let the people that control all the businesses, all the inputs on the supply chain that go into making smartphones or smart TVs or smart anythings in the 21st century, all the supply chains, you would allow those businesses themselves to be controlled by the people that work them. And then maybe they will make their own calls about whether the hardware that they're producing that goes into these types of technologies is something that can be tracked easily anyway, or can be tracked by them or some third party. They might cut that out. And so like you physically need some other device to try and track people's phones or gear or something like that. Anyway, I'll shut up with my rant now. But I don't see this really happening. I think it's a bit misleading. It's a bit misleading. What you can't fully control, the baseband processor is a black box with its own firmware blobs in all drivers, Wi-Fi, GPU, camera are all closed source and could leak data. If you ever log into a Google account, Google can tie activity to you. App compatibility. Many apps require Google Play services and won't function or will break without them. If you're using a de-Googled Pixel with Graphene OS, no Google apps or accounts, and careful about network hygiene, I think that's an important point as well, network hygiene, you can make yourself extremely difficult to track by Google. Far more private than 99% of smartphone users. That's a pretty good strike rate. That's a really good strike rate. But 100% guarantee is nearly impossible due to hardware level uncertainties and the nature of modern networked devices. The goal is to reduce exposure and make tracking economically or technically unfeasible, not necessarily 100% invisible. Interesting.
Not a feature, but for me it ended up being one. Like I talked about in the beginning, it feels a lot of times when I use a phone, it's such a distraction. There are some apps that you probably have to use. Maybe it's for work or because of friends and you want to connect, whatever. You're gonna have to use certain apps that you don't really want to use. So I decided to put all those apps, and you can do this as well actually, on a different profile. The good thing about Graphene is that on a different profile, all these apps are contained in that profile. They can't connect to anything else on my phone or run in the background or anything like that. That's what's great about Graphene, and that's why, to me, it felt like a good solution with all the apps that I don't want to use. But what this ended up doing was that, okay, now I need to use this app that I don't like to use. It feels intentional going there. I don't even see these apps when I use my phone on a regular basis. And it made it so that my phone starts feeling like it's serving me again, like an actual useful tool that it supposedly is, right? So yeah, huge fan. I'm so glad I swapped out. It's probably the best thing I did so far, but it gets better, okay? I had a ride this couple weeks, I tell you what. Number, is it 6 or 5? I lost count. Anyway, password managers. What do you mean password 123 isn't gonna cut it? I hate password managers. Why? Because they cost 67 pounds. To host a 5 kilobyte size document? I don't think so. There's whole videos of me just doxing myself for being cheap. It's not happening. I'm not paying that. I almost had a heart attack when I found out. I'm paying what? But you need a password manager. That's just the reality.
I don't believe that he actually has a heart attack when he finds out whether or not, you know, he pays 67 pounds for something. I don't buy that one. The most prominent project is the Fairphone. Ooh, interesting. Let's have a look. But the question is there such thing as ethical consumption under capitalism? Are we just trying to buy away the guilt of the exploitation of labor? All right, that's call of the day. Is there ethical consumption under capitalism? No. No, there is not. Never is. Never was. Always will be. Is this in French? Wow. It's from the Netherlands? Is that what NL is? Right, so here it is. You can buy a phone, or you can get yourself a phone that is potentially... And this is not a sponsored video, if anyone. Danish. It's Danish, okay. Where are they coming from? Behind the Screens, a Fairphone documentary. Behind the Screens. The truth behind your screen, and it's immersive documentary exposing... Ooh. I wonder how long this is. Oh, it's 10 minutes. Fuck yeah, let's watch this. Let's do this afterwards. Alright, I'm going to let PewDiePie talk and stop cutting him off. Yeah, remove the NL and it changes to English. Okay, thank you.
Of today. I thought I was so smart. I was like, okay, fine. I don't need to do this. I'm running Linux. I downloaded a backup. I made it into an HTML and then I encrypted it. And then I had an alias, so I unencrypt it when I need to use it and then quickly encrypt it. Is it unencrypt or decrypt? It doesn't matter. Bada bing, bada boom, I saved myself 67 pounds. If I live for, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, that's like, I saved myself a lot of money. Multimillionaire is a cheap ass. .mp4, that's what I should call this. But then I realized I need this file on other devices. I need it on my phone and my laptop, and what if I go abroad? And that's when I discovered glorious SH, self-hosting. I can just host this on another device. I feel like ever since I did my Linux video, so many comments have been like, just wait until it discovers self-hosting. It's gonna be game over. And yet you were right, okay? I started off on a Raspberry Pi 5. This thing is relatively cheap. It's got Ethernet, it runs on low power, and it's powerful for its size. Can do more than enough for what I wanted to do. I found an open source alternative, which is Vault Warden. You can host your own password manager, basically. The problem was, I have no clue what the heck I'm doing. What is a reverse proxy? What do you mean I can't just put my IP address in my browser and be done with it? The Vault Warden is so secure that it wouldn't let me connect to it unless I set it up properly. Every time I thought I did it, I kept seeing the spinny circle, and I saw that circle for 2 goddamn days. But once it finally worked, magic. I have done it. I had saved myself 67 pounds. Tears running down my eyes. It was beautiful. My first successful self-host. My God. No more subscriptions. No more syncing drama. Just my own secure vault. It felt like I was finally breaking out of the Matrix for real. And the thing is...
I know the feeling. So, does anyone actually use this stuff? Does anyone use, like, password vaults? Or, yeah, things that are supposed to, like, conglomerate all of your passwords together and keep them safely in one-stop shop. Like you, us humans, don't have memories and have never had passwords before the advent of the internet before, and people just, like, had to, back in the day, remember their fucking passwords or write them down somewhere and keep that safe. Like, is anyone... Am I that old school that I try to actually keep across my own passwords until they put like a Neuralink inside my fucking head and decide that they can actually access all of my passwords and my deepest thoughts, fears, and desires through my Neuralink. Until that point, is it just too much to ask that people manage their own passwords without paying someone and like keeping it online somewhere? Is that radical? Like, am I just too radical when it comes to this idea? Like, do you guys pay for shit like this? Does anyone pay for a service to keep all your passwords somewhere? Dilemma's 85. Remembering passwords is the main reason I don't use email. It's become the wife's job now. And it's somebody else's problem. And the problem is solved. That's, you know, that's an actual alternative. Like, get somebody else to fucking do it. You know, if you're worried about this stuff, get somebody else to do it. That's really good. God, he's a goddamn genius. The thing he's talking about have communities of people interested in this stuff. Hence why he's able to do this, because there is documentation and discussions. Yeah, look, I'm not criticizing. The password manager is considered the lowest bar of cybersecurity. I'm just saying, like, fundamentally, like, you know, we want to talk about, so it's standard practice, yeah, but like you want to talk about like capitalism and exploitation and stuff like that. They don't make password managers, or they don't make password products that secure your password because of, like he said, because of charity. They're doing it because it is a commodity that you will buy, and they assure you that they will keep your information safe and easy for you to access, so you don't have to use your fucking brain. It's a convenience thing. So is it really radical to manage your own passwords, as people have done for as long as passwords have existed in the physical realm? Is it really that outrageous? Like, call me old-fashioned, but I like my passwords to be kept in reality. Matt Bond, yeah, I do the same thing, but I write it in code in case someone breaks into my place. Ooh, that's like next level. That's so good. And here we go again. There is an open source version of password managers. Thank you, Avalava. If anyone's wondering, if you actually want to get access to an open source version of it and not pay for it, then you can do that too. So Avalava is on fire today, helping solve all of our problems when it comes to being fucked over by capitalists who are trying to exploit our insecurities and our inability to retain information in our heads or in the written form on a piece of paper. Fine, skip me. I see how it is. Oh, really? Wait, what did I miss? Oh, I did miss something. I know a lot of people who do. It's just remembering your password. It's making them up for you too, so that they can be more secure. I guess so. Yeah. So like getting like a password generator or something like that to do it for you, to make them like better passwords. That is a good point. That is fucking annoying how they do say like you need to have all of these things specifically in there, and then they judge you on how strong it is when you come. I feel very judged when I'm creating passwords sometimes. I'm like, I thought that was pretty secure. Don't tell me what's not secure, asshole. Do you still remember people's phone numbers, or do you let your phone remember? That's a really good point. I remember like core people's phone numbers and everything else. But like people had phone books back in the day. Let's be honest. Like not everybody, like when I was a kid and like you had a phone that was connected to the wall, you know, with like some type of physical constraint, like a cord, next to the phone or near the phone was a phone book. And so, yes, I remembered core people's phone numbers. There was no mobiles, I guess, or very few mobiles. And like everyone else was in the phone book. But I wasn't worried about like, you know, some corporation stealing information out of the phone book or exploiting me. But there was a capitalist who manufactured the phone book probably. So I see what you're saying there. I actually see what you're saying. That's a good point. There was probably capitalists exploiting the fact that I can't remember everybody's phone number. That's a good point, actually. How are you going to remember? I'm going to try and read that one out. I get it. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know, get it tattooed to your arm or something. Dilemmas. It's the stuff of nightmares when they tell you you need certain characters or numbers for us to give. Yes, it is like the pressure you feel. It's like, fuck, I hope this one works. I'll put another one in there. Maybe an exclamation mark. That'll do. The cybersecurity realm is something that does have a common interest in protecting capital, mostly against hackers, and apparently pushing products onto you as well. Because a lot of people, they prey on their insecurities, and the hackers are going to get you too. So pay that £67 a month or whatever PewDiePie is complaining about over here. All right, let us continue.
Once you start understanding how this works, it's really not that bad. If anything, it became super fun because with compatibility layers like Docker, you can so easily just pick and choose what open source software you want to download, keep trying out different ones. The world is your oyster. Just pluck them from the trees and everything just works. So I needed a note-taking app. I found one called Yoplin. That's how you say that, Yoplin. It had a desktop app and a phone app, which is exactly what I wanted. But when I installed Yoplin, this is where things got weird. Do not judge me here, okay? This is... You can probably relate to this, actually. Have you ever been so lazy that you try and find another alternative, but then that leads you on a road that was 10 times more complicated than just not being lazy? The image that I was trying to install on my Pi was not compatible. It was 86 by 64. This is ARM-based structure. It doesn't matter. Not compatible. I can just find another one. But I thought, hey, why don't I just quickly install this on something that does run 86 by 64? And I look around and I'm like, oh. Well. My Steam Deck runs 86 by 64. So you may be asking, Felix, did you use your portable handheld gaming console to host your note-taking app? Yes, but it gets worse, actually. Steam runs Linux. Beautiful. It actually runs Arch, which is the distro I use on my desktop. Match made in heaven. But I thought to myself, well, it's filled with all this like Steam bloat. I should probably uninstall Arch so I can then install Arch. I don't know what's wrong with me. Don't ask. And I did this, of course, just so I wouldn't have to find another image of my note-taking app. But anyway, it works. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Now, I got my notes app running beautifully. Number 7 or 8. It was time to say goodbye, Google Drive. Goodbye, Jotaro. $20 for 100 gig? I don't think so. I'm not gonna pay you to hold my data hostage forever. Not happening. What if I live for another 600 years? Think about how much money that's gonna be to Google. No more subscriptions. Redundant subscriptions. Instead of Google Drive, I set up File Browser. The thing that bothers me about all these free online storages that gives you a certain amount at least is that, first of all, it's not safe. Second of all, I don't know what they're doing with that. Thirdly, I hate how it's used. I don't know if you can relate to this. Maybe it's just like a me problem, but let's say I've gone outside, I've touched grass, I've taken all these photos and videos, and then I sit down in front of my computer, and then all of a sudden internet goes down, and I'm like, what happened? And then it's like, oh yeah, my Google Drive decided to back up every single photo and video I've ever taken. And it's like, I don't want that. I want certain images. Let me pick those first. And I don't want you to suck up my entire bandwidth. With File Browser, I can throttle the speed and I can do it when I want to, which files I want to. I went a little nerdy and overboard, a surprise. And I wrote a bunch of aliases and shell functions so that I can define push or pull to download or upload, which device, my phone, laptop, desktop, deck, and which subfolder. And I do all this with glorious SSH. It actually solved another problem for me, which is always sharing files between my phone and my desktop. I never know how to do it. Apparently, I didn't know this. I feel like everyone is tuning out because I'm talking about SSH again. But you can run it on your phone. Look, I'm connected. And then I thought, fuck, and now I gotta do an opposite script on my phone. But then I realized I can just connect to my desktop to run the script. It doesn't matter, okay? It's cool. Just trust me, it's cool.
Do you guys know what the fuck he's talking about? Anyone? There's a few techies in here. I'm assuming you guys all know what the fuck he's talking about. I am completely lost at this point. Dr. Nathan, do you see why I sent the Adama clip the other day? Sometimes what we exchange for convenience is not worth the skill we lose. The Steam Deck, one of the greatest inventions of our time. And I'm well over my head now. Yeah. One of the most popular cybersecurity podcasts is constantly parroting the nonsense of the security state. That's a big call, man. The security state. I mean, I'm assuming when they say the security state, they're talking about like the importance of allowing surveillance on your populations through the state. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about there. So just give me a second. Gonna attend to my TikTok stream before I get shafted again by those bastards. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. Alright. If you got to shield that hard, something's not right. He's hosting all his file sharing on his own systems like Google Drive, cloud saving, but on his... okay, right. Thank you. A lot of shilling. All right, continue.
Number 9. AI. We have to talk about AI. I don't know about you, but I don't like using AI. It feels like I'm kneeling directly to the tech overlords. And not to mention the goddamn subscription fees. I feel like I'm spoon feeding the machine that has stolen all my data, more of my data. Here you go. Nice and fat. Here you go. Not happening. But I got curious and, you know, I built my own computer not long ago and I spent a lot of money on it. Why don't I just see if I can run it myself? It's a beast. So I set up a local language model called Mixtral. Emphasis on local, which means it runs on my computer completely offline. It's beautiful. Now I can search whatever I want. And I can ask it dumb questions like, why is my left toe bigger than my right toe? And no one knows about it. Not Google, not AI overlords, not even you. Step 10. How many steps are there? And we have so much left. PDFs, Google Docs, calendar, contacts. I was honestly getting a little tired at this point to try and find an alternative to all of these, but that's when I discovered Nextcloud. It's an open source self-host beast, and it does all of this for you. Maybe there are better singular alternatives, but the fact that I can get all of this baked in one was exactly what I needed, and just one quick install and it was done. I was completely out of Google and it felt amazing. Finally, I'm free. From here on is when I needed to tighten things up a little bit. I actually bought a domain. I know, I paid a subscription fee. But it's worth it. If you're self-hosting, it's actually worth it because you can get a domain for $5 a year. It means I can get better security features and I can put all these services in subdomains. So like docs.mysubdomain.com and password.mysubdomain.com, like all these different things I made, I can access easily. I don't have to type my IP address for each one. And I started to tighten down the security as well, especially because I was looking online. I'm like, I'm getting a lot of bots that are pinging me. I don't like this. Everything is locked in with the password already, but I added another layer of zero trust, so you can't access anything unless you have another login. I locked in my IP address with Tailscale. Beautiful Tailscale. I could make a whole video. I had a fail to ban. It was definitely worth spending some time locking things down. And I think I found a good balance of it being secure, but also not like a huge hassle every time you want to access either. Now, swapping out all these Google services, there's one that I just can't escape. And I don't mean YouTube. There's one that sucked the most to get rid of, and that was actually Google Maps. Because Google tracks you so well, it is so good at predicting traffic. And since I drive a lot in Tokyo, I really rely on that to get to places on time. You can't be late in Japan. It's like a death sentence. The first time I used my open source alternative, I ended up 30 minutes late. And that's when I realized, hey, maybe Big Brother tracking everything isn't so bad. Maybe surveillance has...
Ooh. Can we just take a moment to realize what's going on here? Maybe Big Brother monitoring everything isn't that bad. Maybe it's actually something that can positively contribute to the human race. Like if there was an ethical organization out there or conglomeration of organizations that collected data to actually benefit the human race, that might be something that we could all enjoy, as opposed to it being held by the private interests of a few for exploitation and surveillance purposes to make money and dominate markets. He's got a point. If you really want something to work effectively and it needs large conglomerations of data to be accurate, then centralizing that data into one place, Big Brother, is a better outcome because it's more effective. So where's the sweet spot here between surveillance capitalism and providing actual data services? Where's the sweet spot? Let's see what he has to say about this, because I was about to interject and say, look, we've been listening to him speak for a while now, and he hasn't done much in the way of commenting on why we're in this situation in the first place, as opposed to just saying that we are in this situation and here's all the ways that you can work around it to reduce the amount of surveillance that happens on you by these big evil companies that want to just scrape your data. He hasn't really spoken too much about why we're in this position in the first place. I'm not asking him to be ideological and get down and like solve the problems of world capitalism, but like I think this is about as close as we're about to get here.
I used my open source alternative, I ended up 30 minutes late. And that's when I realized, hey, maybe Big Brother tracking everything isn't so bad. Maybe surveillance has its perks. But I stuck to my de-googling, and the best alternative I found was just using my car's GPS. It has all this Japanese services built in anyway. I ended up using my Pi to replace my Google TV, and I'm running Kodi on that.
Damn, that was it. Maybe surveillance isn't that bad. If it's being used to serve you, like in a mass conglomeration, like tell you if there's traffic incidents or some type of congestion somewhere. So there is points at which data collection is good and can serve the human race at large, but not within a capitalistic environment. It will never be that way. And so like the theme here is that like all of this stuff that he's doing, it's fantastic. It's a great workaround. It's like the ways that liberals see capitalism. There is ways to humanize the market economy and to stop things being exploitative or absolutely exploitative or unbridled exploitation, and put some regulatory framework in there, put a few guardrails to make it a little bit nicer, so you can swallow the medicine and it'll be a little bit sweeter. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen within a system based on bourgeois property rights, which is, very Marxist situation of analysis of the situation. But until we change fundamentally those types of concerns, the legality of things, who's in control of what, and how we organize it all, like all of this stuff is, just humanizing capitalism, really. Man, the stream chat is going off. Avalava. Like, if you guys want alternatives to something and you're not interested in PewDiePie's shilling over here, and you want to see some real open source technology that might change your life, or things that seem to be, like, look at this one, Magic Earth, free navigation and maps, apps for Android and iPhone. There's an app called Magic Earth. It's almost as good as Google Maps. So there are lots of alternatives. Alternatives to selling yourself out to Big Brother. But like, do we even have to go there? Should we even have to go there is the question that I would ask. Of course this data can, Avalava says, of course this data can be used in a beneficial manner, but our mode of production incentivizes profit. His video skirts around surveillance capitalism without introducing it. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with that, I must admit. Like, I wasn't expecting some like rant about like why the system is fucked or something. But this just seems like a conglomeration of like, here's my alternative to this, here's my alternative to that, as opposed to really talking about the issue at hand. But again, all of this sheds awareness because a lot of people might not be thinking about how Google does use all of this stuff, not as a charity, as he was saying. They're not just providing free services because they're $1 trillion charity. That was a really good line, in the 20 or the 19 minutes and 32 seconds that we watched so far. That was actually quite a good line, that it's not $1 trillion charity. This stuff ain't free. Nothing's free in this system. God damn it. Nothing's free. If he just said straight up, you wouldn't watch to the end of the video. Yeah, but you could have filtered it into the start and just been like, hey, this is the score. This is the problem here. Hello. And let's talk about what you can do about this. Also, to be fair, he always tried to keep any of his politics out of his videos, maximize possible viewers. Isn't that a shame, though? Like, honestly, isn't that a shame that, like, being political, or saying any of your political opinions in polite and civilized conversation amounts to you neutralizing large segments of your audience? Like, that is not dinner conversation, so don't go there. Someone with the reach of 110 million people should put his opinion out there without the fear of losing subscribers or followers or whatever. At some point, I think, to be a responsible human, to be an adult, is to have your convictions on display to a certain degree. I'm not saying you be a douchebag about it, but, like, it's got a platform. Maximize possible viewers. Dilemmas. Being a milk toast fence sitter is how one gains 100 million plus subs. Again, like, I'm not asking him to be a left radical, but, like, he is talking about Big Brother. He's talking about Google and saying that, like, they are watching you. You could argue or make a off-the-cuff comment that this system is completely screwed up. And why is it even like this in the first place? Like, get people just, like, even thinking about it. You don't even have to comment on it. Pewds is an entry point to questioning the system that's being built. These sorts of channels where we can dive deeper. Yeah, fair enough. If people do everything he says, they'll find out that there's still problems that lead to one solution: change the system. There it is. Thank you very much. Avalava. PewDiePie has got most of it down in terms of technology, but he doesn't introduce ideological depth besides the intro. Yeah, I like I said, I really like the comments. They're not $1 trillion charity. There is a reason that these services are free. Hey, anyone? Hey, yeah, why are they free? Because they want your daughter, Bob.
I haven't really fully set it up yet, so not much to say about it. And you may remember I'm doing all of this on my Steam Deck. I added an extension so I can plug it into Ethernet. That way it runs on less power. It runs completely headless, and I can monitor all of it on my safe network system that I have. But then I thought it'd be kind of cool to use the display, so I can use that for monitoring. I ran Tmux and BTOP on it, and it looks so cool. You know, this all started because I wanted to de-Google and try what that was like. And by the end of it, my Steam Deck looks like it's a detonator for a bomb or something like that. And before you ask, yes, I can still game on it, all right? It runs 2% of my CPU. It's like this weird home lab abomination at this point, but I love it. I love looking at it. I got it sitting next on my desk. It's just a vibe, man. Every time I see it, I'm happy. Another fact that I like using my Steam Deck is the fact that I can just use whatever I have around me. People have these, like, super sick home lab setups, which are awesome, I get it, but my point with this is that if you wanted to de-Google, you can use whatever you have at your disposal. It shouldn't cost you any extra money. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that Steam Deck is the ultimate self-host device. You're probably better off using a Pi, but maybe you have some device laying around at home that you can run Linux on. Bring it back to life, you know? Instead of throwing it away, and I hate to be that guy, but it's better for the environment. Yes, it's a lot of tinkering, but you
hate to be that guy, but hey, it's better for the environment. It's so good. Yeah, everybody hates to have a environmental conscious, I'm sure. Hey, why throw something out when you could use it?
learn a lot, and by the end of it, it's done. Like, I don't have to touch it. Google's mantra is don't be evil, but I still think they have a lot to do to qualify for that title.
You know, they got rid of that mantra, by the way, let's just say.
On your phone, you have all these settings with privacy and give permissions and all these things that they ask you. But it kind of feels like one of those toys that Björn has, that it's just like a bunch of buttons that doesn't actually do anything. Unless you go all the way with privacy, it doesn't mean anything. Don't call it privacy. And for me, it's not even necessarily about Google. I think it's more about big tech in general. I hate where software is going.
Yes, he's going there. Savor it, ladies and gentlemen.
Google. I think it's more about big tech in general. I hate where software is going. Unnecessary subscriptions, ads, locking, updates changing the entire UI because you're more prone somehow to get more locked in. With YouTube, you know, it's been constantly changing for years and years and years just because they figured this is the best way to suck you in. If I host my own apps, there's none of that. So now I got my own home lab abomination and I love it. I'm finally free from the tech overlords. It was 100% worth it. And look, bro, I made you one too. You've earned it. Here you go, bro. This video is sponsored by Saley.
Very nice. Very nice. We got there. We got there. This isn't just about Google. Oh no. This is about tech lords generally. And these are the people that want to basically change the earth and remake it in their image. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We're not just talking about creating software and hardware that is controlled by software that can track you. That's the means. The ends is total control. Here's a link to one of Stallman's popular speeches about this topic. What are we talking here? I do want to watch that other thing that you put in before. I must admit, I was quite the intrigued by Fairphone, was it called? I think. Fairphone. English version. Behind the screens. This is going to be epic. I'm ready for this. The dark side of the smartphone industry is going to lead people to looking more into this. Like I said, entry point creators. Indoctrination, environmentalism, it's healthy conservatism. That's funny. Why do you say that? Can you divulge a little bit there? I want to take you up on that edgy commentary there. Dilemmas. You either fight the system or become rich enough so the problems don't affect you. Case in point, almost every poly. That's so unfortunately true. Oh my god. Or you become rich enough to be completely outside of the way of all the harm produced in the system on all the average people out there. Very, very good. All right, let me do this one first, Avalava. And then I'll go on to the TED Talk, if that's down with you, if you can get down with that. Let me just touch grass over here on TikTok land so they don't kick me off the platform again. All right, let's have a look-sees, shall we? Because, okay, here we go. Because it's conserving the world as it was and should be, and ensuring our world isn't ruined by unbridled progress. Okay, so like you mean conservatism in an actual objective fashion, not ideological conservatism in terms of like being conservative on a political spectrum. It's healthy. Environmentalism is healthy conservatism, like actual like conservation. Right. I thought you were making a connection between like conservative ideals and politics and environmentalism actually aligning more with conservatives than progressivism, which I thought was a very interesting take, a very inception-worthy take, might I add. And I was gonna try and get you to explain that one a little bit more, because it's actually a very insightful way of looking at it. But I know what you're on now. No, I was joking. That is the true conservation. It literally is. It is almost as good at conservation as sugar or salt. Those are the original conservatives right there. All right, let's do this. Or spices. Spices are good at conserving things too. Let's have a look at this one from Fairphone. $1.5 billion phones are sold each year. Damn. When was this made? 30th of March it was uploaded, 2023. The lives of most of these phones take place across multiple continents involving thousands of people. Ain't that the truth? This is the story of these phones. Ooh, I'm excited. Behind the screens. Fuck, this is like Alien. This is gripping already. Gold mine, Kenya. Kakamanga, was it? Kakamanga?
Ukifika pale ndani, hewa pia inabadilika. Hapo ndani ni giza. Kwanza kuna hatari ya hewa mbaya. Wakati ambapo walifanya blasting, labda hiyo mawe ililegea na anguka. Inaweza toka imgonge, unapata mtu anakufa hapo, unaona? Sisi sema mawe ililegea hewa mbaya. Wakati ambapo walifanya blasting, labda hiyo mawe ililegea na anguka. Inaweza toka imgonge, unapata mtu anakufa hapo, unaona? Sisi sema ati ni hali mzuri.
There are people who started mining at the age of 14 and they are still doing mining today.
Chenye inawasukuma gold iko na pesa.
We drill the reef, we dry it, and we use local ball mill to crush it into powder. When you pour water, as it goes downwards, the gold is trapped in mud. That concentrate, you mix it with the mercury. Everybody's able to...
Is he mixing mercury with his hands? Is that what we just saw there? Fuck me dead. Who said that? Voltato, peak health and safety. Yeah, shit. Damn right, peak health and safety. Whoa.
to hold mercury, and you understand the dangers of mercury.
Sema kweli, katika kazi ya mining kuna hatari tena kubwa.
Watoto wananilemea, niko na watoto wanne. Nilikuwa na pesa msha mwezi haikuwa inanitosheleza. Afadhali ya mining at least kwa siku mpaka upate kitu.
There is gold in that phone of yours. Maybe probably on the side of motherboard. Yeah.
Thời gian làm việc thì là 12 tiếng một ngày, có khi 14 đến 15 tiếng một ngày.
Giữa người và máy móc ấy, nó sẽ đan xen nhiều ấy. Tại khu vực của tôi thì có 30 người. Trong một xưởng có thể chứa tới 4.500 người. Có thể có
What the fuck? How many
30
people?
người. Trong một xưởng có thể chứa tới 4.500 người.
Man. Like, you know how, like, there's a lot of commentary about, like, where capitalism is at, and it really talks about this idea that it's all automation. It's like post value production, in the sense that humans don't really add value to the chain anymore, and there's no such thing as surplus value. Like, there's a lot of that tone to the conversation about what to do in a post-industrial society, like in, you know, advanced economies where they've de-industrialized from the proletarian kind of model of stuff. It hasn't changed. It's like capitalism is truly global now, and the proletariat of the world exists somewhere else. You just don't see them anymore. So like when people like get angry online when you talk about capitalism and being anti-capitalist and like this idea, and people are like, you know, what's capitalism anyway? It's like an outdated kind of term. That's like, you know, looking at things from 150 years ago. Don't use words like capitalism. They get upset with you. And you're like, well, fucking just go have a look at the third world. Like, if you really want to know who the proletariat are and like who produces the surplus value that goes into everything, then yeah, it might be, if it's not in your backyard anymore, it doesn't mean the analysis is wrong. It doesn't mean the analysis is wrong at all. Avalava, I've not seen this doco. It's actually so shocking. An accurate term for AI is actual Indians. Damn, savage. And like, I don't know if most of you were here at the time, but like back a while ago when we were looking at surveillance capitalism, it sucks, Baltazar, it sucks how hard it is to avoid exploitative products. Yes, I know. No, even if you really wanted to have like a conscience when it comes to this sort of type of stuff, it's very difficult in this system, which is what we were talking about before with PewDiePie. Like, you know, he's got he doesn't even have a diagnosis. He's looking at a symptom and figuring out ways to treat the symptom. But, you know, here's the problem over there. You want to diagnose the motherfucker and shoot it? You know, bring it down, Legolas, bring it down. Like, don't go after the symptoms and treat the symptoms. Go for the actual cause. And so, yeah, it's very difficult to, one, be an ethical consumer, because even the ethical consumption is commodified. Like, you can feel happy when you buy coffee and it's got like a little certified label to say it was done environmentally in a sustainable way. And it wasn't done by exploiting communities. And like, you just expect that if they put that label on there, then you can feel good about drinking your coffee. Like, you didn't kill anyone or chop down half of the Amazon rainforest to get your coffee. And so like, that's commodified too. And so it's like this like spiral of like, you know, capitalism feeding in on itself and exploiting your needs, wants, and desires. But like, when people, you know, really battle you ideologically and oppose you and say things like, you know, your method of looking at the world, you know, with a Marxian way of criticizing capitalism, you know, it's not the Industrial Revolution anymore. You know, wake up. The world runs differently. Does it? Does it? Does it really run any differently to how Marx was explaining it? Or is it just, it's not British people anymore that are in locations closer to the heart of consumption? It's being done on global supply networks and like shipped around the world thanks to our incredible technology that for global shipping on shipping containers and stuff like that. Going through different canals. So it's just a global issue now, and the proletariat is global, and it conglomerates in areas outside of developed nations and liberal democratic societies that have labor laws and conditions and expectations for their working classes. And so you go to places where there really is no conditions and protections for workforces. So you can pack 4,500 people in a warehouse where they all work 12 hours a day. Like, this conversation is exactly the conversation that Marx was having 150 to 200 years ago now. Exact same conversation. How do you exploit labor for longer. So how many hours can you pack them in to a factory every day before they die and need to be replaced? So the hours, and then how do you exploit them best to make them as productive as possible while they are there en masse, so you can squeeze more value out of them? And what do you do to get the edge? To squeeze as much value out of them as possible. I always laugh when rich Americans say that they would pay extra for an American-made phone. Yeah, that's a funny one, right? Because the amount of money they would have to pay extra, like their phone costs would go from like, you know, $1,000 for the latest iPhone to like fucking $20,000. And yeah, that's more than most Americans make in a year. So the capitalist system would not be able to meet that type of contradiction. And that's why the proletariat is global. It's just harder to see because it's not in your backyard anymore. But like, you know, that's why something like, you know, Make America Great Again isn't too bad of an idea. Because if you re-industrialize your workforce, bring it all onto home soil, and it affects people largely, then you win the power of labor back. The problem is that the labor force exists out there, but they have absolutely no power. They have no power. And like I was going to say before, we started months and months ago on this endeavor to figure out the nuances and the intricacies of surveillance capitalism and potentially even techno feudalism. And one of the core concepts we learned at the start was digital colonialism. So a neo-colonialism, but now it takes place all around the digital world, creating the hardware for the digital future, the AI-controlled future that we're all hurtling towards at an extreme rate, and the actual software itself. You have outposts on the imperial periphery in places like Kenya or India or Southeast Asia, where people work for, you know, cents a day, maybe dollars a day if they're lucky, training algorithms so they can be unleashed on society or on parts of the human population that can afford to run software and AI programs and all that type of stuff. So digital colonialism is the partner now of the extraction that happens in the developing world in terms of getting surplus value out of the proletariat. What we should all, I guess, be aware of is that we probably aren't the proletariat anymore. We might be working class and we might produce value, but in terms of industrial proletariat, so producing like physical commodity value as opposed to some other form of commodity value like experiential commodity value. So being involved in the service sector, which a lot of people in developed countries do now. They produce some type of experiential capital or surplus value, which is like something consumed straight away. People that produce the physical goods still, the technology that we use, they're the industrial proletariat. Like I said, they're just not in our backyard anymore. And it's confronting being slapped in the face with it.
Trường nó là môi trường không khí đặc. Nếu làm việc suốt thì cũng sẽ rất là mệt mỏi ở trong đấy.
Cũng có khi thì tôi định nghỉ vì việc áp lực quá.
Tôi mong muốn là có các cấp trên sẽ quan tâm đến công nhân nhiều hơn, tạo được điều kiện cho anh em công nhân có nhiều việc làm hơn, thu nhập thì sẽ ổn định hơn.
Do công việc của tôi thì lặp đi lặp lại nên là thời gian phần lớn tôi ở trong nhà máy,
6 tháng làm việc của tôi tại công ty, tôi đã sản xuất được tầm 1 triệu con hàng, 1 triệu cái màn hình điện thoại. Nhiều lắm. Không đếm.
Wow, imagine that, keeping track of what you do. He's produced 1 million phones. That's mental. That's mental. See, when you can make decisions like this as a capitalist, this is another interesting phenomenon that Marx talks about. There is a point where the technological innovation required to advance the productivity of labor is actually too much of a cost to continue to develop the productive forces. So what I'm trying to say is there is a balancing point, an equilibrium where capitalists are like, no. I'm not spending any more money developing the means of production to increase the productivity of labor, to extract more surplus value from them, because it's still actually more profitable to just hire cheap laborers and not spend money on high-tech machines to make the products. If there was true competition, like a high coercive competition environment in a capitalistic setting like this, then having better technology for your laborers, better machines and automation to use for your laborers would actually increase your profits to the point which you would want to continually to upgrade the machines that they're using and cut out some of the labor. But it's obviously financially a better decision to hire 4,500 people, pack them into a warehouse, have them working 12 hours a day, because labor has absolutely no power in the relationship, and run them off old school machinery where you have people like, doing repetitive tasks themselves like a machine, instead of increasing the ability of the machinery itself. And Marx talks about this in London, where he was at the time of writing Capital. I'm pretty sure this was like after the Grundrisse. And he's talking about the shipyards. And they had this technology to kind of bring the ships into the yard to, make to have the ships repaired or made. They could they bring them in and out of the yard using technology. But it was actually cheaper to not. And they made better profits if they didn't invest in this machinery that helped drag the ships in and out of the shipyards, and they just hired cheap Irish laborers and stuff like that, and women, because they were much cheaper than male laborers, to literally get ropes and pull these ships in and out of the shipyards. And so he talked about this phenomenon where capitalists will make a decision about really investing in the technology or not, and if other capitalists aren't investing in it, then there's no real incentive to do it. And so humans are expendable to a certain degree, because buying better machinery to cut out labor from doing repetitive tasks like a machine anyway, it's not really profitable. And so you're looking at this stuff and a lot of the stuff they're doing there can easily be replaced by a machine. I'm not saying that I want to disempower these laborers because they get paid from this, and so there's always this strong contradiction in this type of understanding of the world. Very, very strong contradiction ideologically. Do you disempower these laborers and take their jobs away, or do you stop them from having to do mindless repetitive tasks? And you can get technology that could do this stuff easily, but it's not worth it for them because the people are cheaper. It's a very sad situation, unfortunately. Very sad point. And this is kind of where capitalism turns in on itself. This is one of those contradictions of capitalism, is at a certain point, it's not the most productive mode of production anymore. At some point, capitalism is going to not be the most efficient way to organize an economy, because it does stuff like this. It's we could advance the technology to cut out labor that's unnecessary, but it is cheaper to pay people absolutely nothing in countries that can't fight for the rights of their laboring people very well. So we'll just keep exploiting cheap laborers because it's better from our bottom dollar. And that doesn't advance the human race at all. It doesn't advance the human race at all. And so there is a point where capitalism becomes redundant. We just need a lot more resistance around the fact that it is redundant. So we'll see if we get there in our lifetimes. Holy God in heaven, 1 million screens. Yeah, I know, right? What the fuck? Imagine sitting down and figuring that out. Like, how many have you actually done? And you could figure it out, like, times the day, times how many you're expected to process. They're talking about the pressure that they're under. Indoctrinate, you should see where the lithium for them comes from. That video is just posted, shows you the true horror of industrial workforce right on our doorstep. Indonesian nickel. I'll check it out.
Từ bé tôi đã thắc mắc điện thoại nó sản xuất như thế nào. Nhiều lần tôi suy nghĩ là không biết là người ta có giống cái suy nghĩ của tôi là có thắc mắc là điện thoại được sản xuất như thế nào không?
I'm in Switzerland. I'm in Switzerland. Woo! I'm in Switzerland.
I couldn't imagine not having a phone. I think I would feel really disconnected from the world.
I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I check my phone. I try not to do it, but...
I absolutely love to take pictures of everything and keep memories of stuff. I feel like there's a lot of advertising out there that, you know, the latest phone is always the hottest one.
And when I got it, I felt this phone was the greatest thing. Systematically, we've been brainwashed for so long. They're just selling us dreams anyway. So.
We don't tend to question where things come from, and it's really quite upsetting to know the lengths that people go to churn out mass products. I've got 3 in my drawer at home, and I don't know what to do.
Overall, I think it's crazy, the velocity at which they're coming out and being thrown away.
Fly away your peace.
Kaga abin da an kayar ne ba a so, saboda kaya ne wa'anda an mata ci. Ya kunshi duk yaren da an Najeriya na akwai shi wurin. Kullum sai an faɗa, kuma aka iya zama abokai gobe. Shiga a ciki muna tonon sharan da ake kawowa. Wannan wurin ana kareya, ana mutuwa, ana rauni, wani ya rasa bugun shi, wani kai ba abin da ba rasa ne. Shekara na 23 ina wannan aiki, na sha gani 1, 2, 3 ban da ma adadi balle in ce ma in yanke wani ya mutu anan hankali na daga.
Yanzu na ce ma zan gaya ma adadin wayan da na taba ni da hannuna wanda kuma na siya na ma karya.
To komai muna gani wayoyi lafiya lau za ka tsince ta kasa layi, wata sikirin ya wuce, wata kuma za ka doka za ka je a gyara, wata ma layi kawai za ka sa.
Wasu mai recycling ɗinsu, wasu kuma za mu nika shi kamar fulawa. Gwal ya fita, kwafa ta fita, buras ya fita, calcium ya fita, komai dai ya danganta abin da yake jiki ya fita. Ake tura kamar bayani da nama a bayani. Ya san idan ka duba duniya yanzu ta riga ta canja. Za ka ga da ba kowa ne yake da waya ba, da waya sai wani da wani, amma yanzu waya ta zama gidan kowa.
I think that's an interesting fact for like analyzing surveillance capitalism and where we're at the moment, that there are more mobile phones on the planet than people. There are more surveillance devices that you can hold in your hand, you know, excluding all of the other surveillance devices that are out there. But there are more surveillance devices that you can hold in your hand and take around with you than there are people on the planet. There are more personal surveillance devices than there are human beings to surveil. The imagery of that is pretty crazy. And the resources that go into it, which is the point of this documentary, not to detract from the point of this very hard-hitting documentary here. But you cannot argue with the idea that we live in a surveillance capitalist world when you think of things like that. It is no longer an argument about whether we're in a surveillance capitalist world or not. Especially knowing that data is the oil of the 21st century. They want the data to make the economy go round. Just like money and financing things has made capital circulate for so long, data is another commodity that helps the circulation process of modern 21st century capitalism. All of the producers out there, the large-scale ones that make the abundance, the cornucopia of products that we have and use, they all rely on data to a certain extent to make their operations go. We are in a surveillance world. And I don't mean that just as in like, Big Brother, the evil state is watching you. I just mean there is the ability for things and everyone to surveil you. It's there. The ability is there. And it's whether or not people are hijacking that or not, grifting on it. Dilemma is 85. It's bittersweet being the last generation to know what it's like to grow up without a phone. Yes. Another 5 years, there will be more Tesla Optimus robots than people. That's a dark prediction. I've heard that one. The only saving grace I have with stuff like that is that Elon Musk has been promising lots and lots of things forever now, that we were going to be in Mars by now. He was saying that sort of stuff 2-3 years ago, and that hasn't come to fruition. So Elon Musk's ability to peddle bullshit all the time in terms of his predictions about what's going to be happening in the not too distant future, just so he can increase the value of his shares and convince people to invest or give him access to things. His ability to peddle bullshit is the only saving grace there. Could you imagine, look at the size of a phone in terms of extraction of resources and minerals and the amount of people that go into that supply chain and at what expense? And could you imagine if someone like Elon Musk had their vision granted, which would be there'd be more humanoid robots than actual people around? How many resources is that going to take? And how disposable? He's going to bring out a new fleet every year? Sustainably, how are we going to manage that as the human race? Until a phone ends up in your hands, it takes the same journey involving intensive resource extraction, inhumane working conditions, and harmful emissions. Despite this industry is built around selling the next innovation, so most phones are discarded only after 2 to 3 years, ending up in a drawer or landfill. And 2 to 3 years is generous, I would say. Indoctrinathan in the stream chat. Elon Musk says he's a 3,000-year-old time-traveling alien who's trying to return to his home planet. Come on. Do you believe that? Do you believe that he believes that? Or is this like some interesting tech propaganda? Because if he believes that, like, you know, the ketamine, it has done its job and it has taken its toll. Do you believe it? I guess you can't put much past old musky boy these days. Care for people and planet should be a natural part of business, where products should be. Where products are built to last and where we think in terms of resources rather than waste. What type of world are you living in? That would take some type of socialized way of producing where everybody agrees what the standards are and what they are not, as opposed to leaving it to the anarchy of the market to decide how we manage our resources and what type of value we put in products, whether it's value that it's the latest thing or whether it is something that is sustainable, as in it can be used or reused again and again and again and again. Matt Bond. Yeah, phones basically start falling apart after a year or two. My volume buttons have already fallen off. Yeah, and like, you know, things are created like that. That is a unique development in the capitalist mode of production. They decided at a certain point that it is important to produce commodities that have a short lifespan because you need to stimulate production. Like, capitalism needs to reproduce at large. And if the economy isn't turning because products aren't moving, things that are produced without real consideration for actual need versus manufactured desire, capitalism falls over. And so it actually needs to produce things that have a short turnover. Programmed obsolescence. That is the terminology. Thank you. Dilemmas. Just ignore the von Braun book. The Elon of Mars. Yes. Von Braun. Somebody brought up Von Braun a while ago now. Was it you, Indoctrinathan? Or somebody else? I wonder who it was. And like, we found out live on stream what Von Braun or who Von Braun was. But yes, the origin of Elon. It was you, Indoctrinathan. There you go. It was like on one of your first streams. You were like, I can't wait to see your reaction. It's great watching people when they find this one out. So like rocket scientist, Nazi rocket scientist, dabbles in science fiction, writes book about Mars colonization, main character or protagonist, Elon. And that's who Elon's named after. His self-fulfilling prophecy. It's coming true. Oh my God. The most sustainable phone is the one we already own. Remember that. They pull at the heartstrings. Directed by Matthew Harmer. He does a good job there, old Harmer. Hey? I'm quite the emotional state right now. So let's see about us. Fairphone. Let's give him a little bit of a rap. Hey? Why not? See what they're really about here. Why is that coming up? That's interesting. Let me make that a bit bigger so you can see that. Fairphone from Amsterdam, for everyone that wants tech to fuel life, not interrupt it. We're all about giving you quality tech that's built to last and made for the better. For over a decade, we've done what others said couldn't be done. Modular phones, built to last, made fair from the inside out. Longer life cycles, smarter upgrades, and real progress with every new generation. What sets Fairphone apart? It's not just our values, it's how those values show up in the product itself. Designed with care. At Fairphone, innovation doesn't mean adding more, it means adding intention. It means asking, what do people really need and how do we design for that, while still thinking about the makers of our devices and the planet itself. Pushing boundaries isn't a feature, it's our foundation. Net zero, meet the makers. Right, so it's a more sustainable option, I guess, of phones. I guess they're producing them. That's good. That's good. We're all for innovation. We're all for innovation. All right, I might do... How long is the TED Talk? Let's have a look-sees. Shall we? Oh, it's 13 minutes. That's not bad.
Free software is the first battle in the liberation of cyberspace. Who controls your computer? Is it you? Or is it some big company that's really controlling it? Well, what is a computer? A computer is a universal machine. It will do any computation you want it to because you give it a program that says what the computation is that you want. So the computer only knows how to get out an instruction and do it, and get out another instruction and do it. The program has the instructions. It says what to do.
I love when people explain the basics like this. I don't mind being talked to like a child when you have someone who really fucking knows what they're talking about. You know, that's some good shit. Avalava, Fairphone is a green ethical product, but it's still profit driven. Or am I wrong? Yeah, look, it seems like they're doing it within the capitalist framework, but like they're trying to make it desirable for the ethical consumer, which is hard to be, but like you do what you can. But like it does seem like a usual capitalistic endeavor. Richard Stallman is quite the character. Yeah, I'm excited already just by hearing this guy speak.
So you, by writing the right program, you can make it do anything. Well, almost anything. So who gives the instructions to your computer? You might think it's obeying your instructions when really it's obeying somebody else first, and you, only as much as that company wants it to, will let it listen to you. With software, there are two possibilities. Either the users control the program or the program controls the users. It's inevitably one or the other. So in order for the users to control the program, they need the 4 essential freedoms. And that's the definition of free software. Free software respects the user's freedom and community. Now, we often call it libre, using the French or Spanish word, pronounce it as you like. The point is, that's what we mean. We don't mean it's gratis. We're not talking about price. We're concerned with your freedom, and we sometimes say free/libre to show that. So freedom 0 is the freedom to run the program as you wish for whatever purpose. Freedom 1 is the freedom to study the source code of the program and change it so it does the computing you want it to do. But what is the source code? Well, every program typically will have 2 forms. There's the form that you can read and you can understand if you know the programming language. That's the source. That's what programmers write and change. Then there's the executable, which is a bunch of numbers which even a programmer can't figure out. If all you get is the executable, it's a horrible pain in the neck to figure out what it does, and even harder to change it. So to give you the real possibility to study and change it, they've got to give you the source code. That's a requirement. Well, with those 2 freedoms, each user separately can make a copy and start changing it and make it do what she wants. That's individual control. But what if you're not a programmer? You look at the source code and you don't understand it. Individual
yeah, right here. I have that feeling all the fucking time.
Control isn't enough. We also need collective control, which means any group of users are free to work together to adapt the program to what they want. Of course, in the group, some of them are programmers. They're the ones who actually write the changes, but they're doing it as part of the group for what the group wants. Of course, the group doesn't have to be everybody, so others can use it some other way. They're all free to do that. So collective control requires two more essential freedoms. Freedom 2 is the freedom to redistribute exact copies, to make the copies and then give them away or sell them when you wish. And freedom 3 is similar, but it's for your modified versions. You're free to make copies and then give them or sell them when you wish. So if you do have these freedoms, then it's free software. The users control the program. But if any of those freedoms is missing, then the users don't control the program. Instead, the program controls the users. And the developer controls the program. So that means this program is an instrument of unjust power for its developer.
Whoa. How good is that fucking concept? So good. His physiognomy says a lot. What do you mean? Like the way that he presents himself, like the tone and stuff like that? I'm interested. Yeah. The way, like the cheerful demeanor he has? Or are we talking about something else here? Dr. Nathan, again, I'm not really sure he doesn't believe it anymore. The K definitely has gone to his head. So can we change out the batteries? If you're talking about that Fairphone, it looked like you could change out the batteries, which would be nice. Hey, what a change. Yeah, his facial features. Yeah. Yeah, seems like a pleasant dude.
Over the users. That means the users don't have freedom. That's non-free proprietary software, which we got to get rid of. Well, when you've got proprietary software, what happens? Sometimes the program
proprietary software, eh? Bourgeois property relations, maybe. Eh?
snoops on the user. Sometimes it tracks the user. Sometimes it restricts the user and stops users from doing what they want to do. You can see that the blue ray is your enemy. Sometimes the software remotely deletes books, as Amazon did with 1984. Sometimes...
Is that true? Fuck, is that true? Get fucked. Did Amazon ever remove the book 1984 from its platform? What the fuck? Yes, in July 2009, Amazon remotely deleted copies of George Orwell's 1984 and Animal Farm from customers' Kindle devices. This action was taken after Amazon discovered that a third-party publisher, Mobile Reference, had sold unauthorized version of these books. Although the titles were public domain in some countries, there was still copyright in the US. Instead, it sparked widespread criticism, with many drawing parallels to the themes of censorship in 1984. In response, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos issued a public apology describing the company's actions as stupid and thoughtless. Subsequently, Amazon settled a lawsuit filed by a high school student who lost his annotated notes when the book was deleted, agreeing to pay $150,000 and committing not to delete purchased content from users without consent. Wow. Remember that one in future. Remember that one. Here's what he says, Stallman says about AI. That's an excellent and insightful question. Describing Richard Stallman's politics is complex because he doesn't fit into a traditional left-wing categories. His political philosophy is almost entirely derived from and focused on the ethics of technology and information. Stallman's politics is best described as a form of radical digital libertarianism with strong communitarian principles. Okay, so libertarian and communitarian. That's a very particular type of libertarian, not the libertarian that we know. This is social libertarianism. And you know what social libertarianism actually is? before they called it communism or socialism or anything like that, anything scary like that, those evil commies and those evil socialists, before they called it that, it was called social libertarianism. Dilemmas, I'm sure that there was a reason, and not trying to get people not to learn about the adventures of Winston. I know, right? Like here it's kind of like, oh yeah, there was a legal issue kind of thing, so they had to take it down. But like, you know, I know what I want to think about that situation, which is just like they're trying to fucking scope people's behaviors there. All right, we got to wipe Orwell off the map there. Because like Amazon's big thing is just like, if you can find it, it's on Amazon. If it exists, it's on Amazon. Squeeb 89 had to drop early and expected. Great to see you guys are still going. Squeeb, welcome back. Oh my God, have we been so deep inside your wheelhouse today? I hope you were able to see some of it. I like paleo libertarian. Fair enough. Paleo libertarian, the OG libertarians, not the fuckwit libertarians that we have these days.
The developer compels or sometimes the developer compels users to install a harmful upgrade by threatening to take away other functionality if it's not installed, as Sony did. And sometimes they can even forcibly change the software at a distance, as Microsoft can with Windows through the universal backdoor. So sometimes they even sabotage users, as Microsoft does when it tells the NSA about bugs in Windows so it can use them to attack people's computers. Well, what you get is basically, with proprietary software, the owner has power over the users and takes advantage of this power, putting in those very...
What the fuck? Did you hear that? Microsoft has bugs. Fair enough. We get it. But they tell the NSA about the bugs so they can hack people's computers. Oh, man, this is surveillance capitalism. It's not just, remember, it's not just about like what the surveillance capitalists are doing. They are an important class within surveillance capitalism. But like surveillance capitalism is definitely an understanding that goes between the state and the capitalist class. And so you have Microsofts of the world, who like basically every large scale corporation out there is Microsoft. There's, I'd say there is a low percentage of like corporations that really exist on like Apple software and stuff like that. It's mainly Windows operating systems. And so like, you know, you can surveil the world's economic populations, all of the world's economy, if you have inbuilt bugs into your software and allow the NSA in through the back door. That's fucking crazy. Too expensive to fix is what I think they see or say. They would say it's probably too expensive to fix. Too fucking convenient as well. Tell you that much for free.
Various malicious functionalities to hurt the users. Of course, they don't do this because they're sadists. They're doing it just for money, for greed. They have various ways that they can profit from having this power over users, which does not make it even the tiniest bit less evil. But they have no shame about it. They have conferences where they talk about the latest ways they can take advantage of users through the power they have. Basically, proprietary software, which is now from almost all the users of proprietary software, they're using proprietary malware. It's software for suckers. So how do you stop being the victim? Formerly, you had to stop using computers, but not anymore. Now you can come join us in the free world that we've built. In 1983, I announced I would develop a completely free software operating system called GNU. In 1992, we had it almost finished, but one piece was missing, the kernel. Linus Torvalds in that year freed his kernel Linux, which filled the last gap and gave us the first complete system you could run on a PC, GNU plus Linux. So, unfortunately, having freedom at one point doesn't guarantee you'll keep it. There are over 1,000 different variants of GNU/Linux. They're called distributions. A few of them are entirely free software. Most of them have non-free software added because they're maintained by people who aren't concerned about freedom. They'd rather add convenience at the cost of freedom. So you have to check which is a free distro. To keep your freedom sometimes requires a sacrifice, sometimes a big sacrifice, as at Lexington. Sometimes, but in our campaign, they tend to be little sacrifices. Anybody with a little bit of maturity can make these sacrifices. For instance, you want applications, but some of them are non-free. If you want freedom, you got to do without them. So there may be some inconveniences you have to suffer for your freedom's sake. Then many websites send non-free programs written in JavaScript to the user's browser. If you don't want to run non-free programs, you should install Libre.js, which keeps out non-free JavaScript. And sometimes servers will offer to do your computing. They say, send us all your data, obviously for suckers. Then the server does the computing and sends you back the results. But you're not supposed to think about what's happening because it's a cloud and you don't see what's going on. Well, you should look. It's software as a service as a software substitute, and it takes away control of your computing. So a large fraction of the world's web servers are running GNU/Linux and other free software. But I think the most important computers to put freedom in are your computers, not companies' web servers. They deserve freedom also. But above all, it's people that deserve freedom. So we need to advance. And to do that, we have to cross obstacles. One of them is there are big companies that make a lot of money by having control over users, and they don't want to let us advance. We have to overcome their opposition. Another is that the mainstream media don't talk about free software. They have a term that they use to bury these ethical issues. They say open source instead. Now, it talks about more or less the same programs, but with different ideas, where free software activists say, this is a matter of right and wrong. Users deserve freedom. We demand freedom. The people who say open source, they don't want to say that. So instead they say, let the users change the software and redistribute it, and they'll make the code better. They'll fix some bugs. It may be true, but it's a less important issue. If we want to keep our freedom, we've got to talk about freedom. So say free software, and you're helping us every time. Another obstacle is that lots of schools teach non-free software, which is...
That's a very interesting one. Hello? Anyone? Anyone want to comment on that one? That we should stop using the word open source and start using the term free software instead? Eh? Don't just let people have access to it so they can improve it. Not just open source it, but make it free. Interesting concepts that I have never fathomed myself before. Indoctrinathan. Did he hand draw all these slides himself? LOL. He got took the free route. Also check CC. No point becoming your own mechanic if you know nothing about cars. Same with tech. Hey, is that how the tech people in the audience, is that how you justify your existence? Don't touch this shit. It's our domain. If you don't know anything about tech, stay the fuck away from it. That's what I do. Stay away from it. I kid. Censored comments. Who got censored? You got censored? For what? What did you say? Indoctrinating. Surveillance capitalism just sounds like fascism with extra steps. Ah, you said the F word. Shame on you, Indoctrinating. Shame on you. Saying the F word. You get the medal today for first censored comment. Not that it's a competition. Not that it's a competition at all. But yes, shame on you, good sir. How dare you say the F word. If anyone's wondering what the hell I'm talking about, and if you haven't been here before, we have a Discord server where we get stuff across. So come and bring yourself over to the Discord server. Here is the invite in the chat. Go join up, and we share propaganda there, and we read other people's propaganda, we input propaganda, and we use this as another platform alternative to the stream chats on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, because we do get fucking censored. It's true. We do get censored. So also for T, what does T mean? The C word. Oh, right. You're talking about capitalism, I hope. But yeah, I guess it is like a step away from fascism in terms of the surveillance of it. It's definitely a step towards totalitarianism. So whether you think totalitarianism is exclusively the realm of fascists or not, I'm not sure. but it's definitely totalitarian. Because like if you can control not only what people are seeing, but like how they think. And how they think. Therefore, then by extension of that, what they do, like honestly, the totalitarian experiments of the 20th century had nothing on surveillance capitalism. Nothing on that. Huh, you got it through, Matt Bond. With my dyslexic proclivity here, I read that as fascism the first time, but I see what you did there. Facky Sam, that's a good way to get around. Get around the censor, the evil censor.
Is basically like teaching the kids their obstacle. Freedom, we've got to talk about freedom. So say free software and you're helping us every time. Another obstacle is that lots of schools teach non-free software, which is basically like teaching the kids to smoke tobacco. It's implanting dependence, which is the opposite of what schools should do. A school should prepare citizens to live in a strong, capable, independent, cooperating, and free society, which means teaching free software in the school. But there's another reason to do that for education. Some kids want to become programmers. They're curious. They want to know how the programs work. Well, the one who's studying a free software can understand it. The one who's studying a non-free program can't learn anything because the knowledge in the non-free program is withheld, denied to the students. So to uphold the spirit of education, the school should make sure its programs are free. But there's an even more important reason. Schools should teach the spirit of goodwill, the habit of helping other people. So the class should say, if you bring a program to class, just as if you bring cookies to class, you've got to share it with everyone else. Can't keep it to yourself. You've got to share the source code so other people can learn. So don't bring any proprietary software to this class. The school has to set a good example by following its own rule. It should bring only free software to class, except as a reverse engineering exercise. Another obstacle is there's hardware we don't know how to write free software for because they won't tell us how to use the hardware. That's shocking. They want to sell you the product and they won't tell you how to use it. They say, here's a non-free program you can use, run it and shut up. Don't bother us. Well, how do we find out how to run that hardware? With reverse engineering, you've got to study all those zeros and ones to figure out what they really do and write down how to use that hardware so someone else can write the free program to do it.
So here's a question for the techies and the AI oriented here. What he's talking about is, can you get the ones and the zeros, copy them, then dump them into a large language model and get it to reverse engineer and tell you what the actual code is? I leave that open to any of the tech people that are watching this right now. I would like to know the answer or your thoughts on that.
It's hard work, but it can be done. If you want to make a big technical contribution, that's what you should do. Each new area, activity of life can bring with...
Interesting proposition then, no? Sweep. I wonder if you can take that grunt work out of the equation.
That new human rights that are necessary. And the human rights depend on each other. If you lose one, it becomes harder to maintain the others. So nowadays, computing is so important in society that the freedoms of free software are among the human rights that society must establish and protect. Thus, how to help? Well, you can write free software. You can organize groups to campaign and persuade schools and governments to move to free software. You can help other people when they have trouble using free software or help them install it. You can say free software and spread the philosophical ideas. Moving to free software is the first step in the liberation of cyberspace. But of course, we also use the internet. We need other freedoms there, like network neutrality and putting an end to surveillance of people in general.
Good luck with that. Language models, I don't think, would have access / understanding of property architecture. Okay, fair enough. Feels like asking ChatGPT to jailbreak code. Interesting. Okay. Well, like he seems to think it can be reverse engineered. Just quite the it's quite the headache. Who knows? Maybe in time. All right, we're gonna do one last one in the stream chat. There's no reason to limit your knowledge because of these arbitrary domains or zones of knowledge. I like that point. I'm gonna keep that. We don't have to have expertise in something to try and want to learn it. I agree. Let us do one more reality check for all of us anti-capitalists in the room. Let's have a look at what Indoctrinathan has put out in terms of the deadly conditions inside Indonesia's nickel industry. Let's have a look, sis.
Here in Southeast Sulawesi, market traders are cashing in on the nickel boom by selling their wares to thousands of Chinese and Indonesian employees who work at nearby nickel smelters. 11-year-old Hijratul Jannah helps her mother Fatiama in their fruit store and has even learned to speak Mandarin.
Ni hao, piung wala. Durian, kalau ada durian, dia paling suka durian. Atau kalau tidak ada, biasa juga semangka.
While the huge workforce benefits small business, there are concerns the nickel rush has come at a big cost for frontline workers. The ABC approached employees in the market, but they declined to talk about what it's like inside the industrial sites. Instead, we obtained this footage taken by Chinese workers who raised concerns over conditions they face at nickel smelters. The workers told their lawyer they did not have proper safety gear to deal with hazards captured in the videos.
Mereka yang direndahkan diantaranya.
Among other things, their passports were withheld, they couldn't travel freely outside the region, and they had to work more than 12 hours almost every day.
They've lodged their complaint with Indonesia's Human Rights Commission, which is investigating working conditions across the nickel refining industry.
Dan isu ketenagakerjaannya adalah
the main issue is the lack of work protections for both local and foreign workers.
12 seems to be the magic number, doesn't it? Hey? Far out. 12 hours a day in a nickel factory, smelting factory. Like, look at that. Doesn't seem to be very environmentally friendly either, apart from the, the work health safety issues that we were picking up on before. Going from compiled binary to source code may be possible, but don't overstate the capabilities of AI. They are prediction machines, not humans. This is true. They are prediction machines. They just seem to be able to handle huge swathes of information very, very quickly. So I was just wondering if that crossover is something that it can do. If, a language is binary, it's just a bunch of conglomerations of ones and zeros, then it should be able to interpret like a machine would, ones and zeros. They can also decompile when they know the text spec of the system needs a basis to expand from. Okay, so it needs like something to work with to be able to understand the language itself or the series of ones and zeros. Interesting. Can only decompile. Like a Rosetta Stone. Yeah, okay. So it needs something to work with. Interesting.
The ABC approached both companies involved in the complaint. One did not respond, the other said it maintains the stability, security, and welfare of workers. For workers, often these risks have to be endured as jobs in the nickel refining industry pay well. 30-year-old Sultan Sutrismat was a math teacher, but for the past 3 years has been working for a nickel refining.
Avalava, there was a recent study about the complexity of a task and the ability for the AI to complete the task. Once it gets past a certain point of difficulty, all AI models fail to complete the task. Interesting. That's the threshold at the moment. Wait for ChatGPT 5 to come out later this year.
Teacher, but for the past 3 years has been working for a nickel refining company where he earns more money.
Ini faktor kehidupan, Pak. Faktor ekonomi yang melandasi saya untuk kerja di sini, Mbak.
Chinese investments poured into Indonesia's refining.
Yeah, Dr. Tyrano, what's good? Yo. What's up? It's good to have you. We have been going on quite the journey today. Okay, we started with PewDiePie and his, assessment of the situation that is surveillance capitalism and his alternatives to getting around the surveillance apparatus, which was decoupling himself, de-Googlefying. We went through that and did a little bit of fact-checking and conversation on that. And since then, we've been down a rabbit hole of this is the true cost behind your phone, basically. And we looked at a video from a company called Fairphone, based in Holland, who produce phones in a more sustainable manner. We've looked at a gentleman by the name of, what was his name? Stallman? Mr. Stallman, who explains like free software in a free society. So the virtues of liberty in software and how that like carries for creating a more liberal society generally. And now we're looking at basically the conditions of nickel workers in Indonesia and like the whole kind of discussion on processing these types of minerals and resources. Matt Bond, humans are predictors as well. Our emotions, our responses are predictions built from previous experience or shared knowledge. Yeah, good point. AI can't render a picture of a wine glass filled to the brim. They aren't the overlords yet. Yeah, why not? Why can't it conceive of that? That's an interesting one. Yeah, we still have time before they take complete control and we become slaves to the super intelligence out there. Nor two eyes touching. They had problems with hands for a long time, but they're pretty good with hands now, I must say.
Operations after the government banned the export of unprocessed minerals in 2014. The industry has been mainly processing the metal for stainless steel, but many companies are shifting to refine nickel for electric vehicle batteries. Those who've witnessed this fast growth firsthand say nickel processing is often prioritized over worker safety. We spoke with one former nickel worker, Mr. Ding. He only wants to be known by his last name.
那是连续工作是175天，对，中间是没有休息。我
Yeah, if you guys can read that, they're interviewing someone who said they worked for 175 days straight. 2 workers I knew, they died of carbon monoxide poisoning. Fuck me dead. Like this is it, man. This is capitalism at full force. This is the proletariat, and they're all in the imperial periphery now.
认识的2个工人呢，他们2个在上夜班的时候，在那个休息的时候，
Well, taking a break from the night shift.
是中国有句那个什么古话嘛，有钱能使。
There's an old Chinese saying that money makes the devil's work, and that's just it.
莫推鬼，那就是这样。
As long as you have money, you can just be lawless in
你只要
Indonesia.
有钱，在印尼你可以就是无法无天的。
Recent fatalities include 20-year-old Indonesian worker Nirwana Sele, who was burned to death after coal dust caught fire in a nickel smelter in December 2022. The Human Rights Commission is expected to soon release the findings of its investigation into the sector. Helena Soisa, ABC News, Sulawesi.
Well, this is powering the world that we live in now, the surveillance capitalist world that we live in, because, electric vehicles, just like all modern vehicles, are not transportation devices. They are surveillance devices on wheels. It's all tied, man. It's all tied. It all comes back to capitalism, man. It's all related. Things not common. Things not common in the data set as it's against prediction. Thinks, not common in the data set. All right, everybody, thank you. I'm going to leave it there for today. This has been very interesting. I'd say very eye-opening, especially the latter part of this. Like PewDiePie was less enlightening than I was hoping for. But like, you know, what do you expect from a actual YouTuber? Like somebody that really is down with the machine, even though they purport to be somehow outside and against the machine, saying things like, I have de-Googled myself, and then in this next sentence has said, but I still use YouTube. And if you are a content creator on YouTube, you know that you can't run YouTube without having connections with Google. Very extensive connections with Google. So I'm not sure what he means exactly by that. And as we found out as well, you can't actually de-Google Fi, man. Once they've got you in the system, regardless of whether you're using their software or their hardware, they have tactics and they have the ability to get information off you through third parties anyway. So I would say in a surveillance capitalist world where we're all being surveilled all the time, unless you're running everything locally and you're not connected to the internet, then I don't know how you would avoid being surveilled, even by Google, even if you didn't have any of their applications or, you know, subscribe to any of their services or use any of their technology. They can still profile you. They can figure out what you're doing and where and how. They can still find out ways. We leave traces. It is up to us to set up a system. Here's the real thing. To set up a system, a social form of organization that sets the standards as to what is acceptable when it comes to our data sovereignty, whether we should have rights over our data, whether we should be paid for our data, let alone have rights to it, and like what is acceptable in terms of surveillance. Because, you know, PewDiePie, I must admit, made a good point. Like, you know, sometimes surveillance is good. Like if there is a entity out there that is surveilling all of the devices in an area as they travel down a highway or a local road network, and it can tell people whether there's traffic incidents or congestion, that's good for everyone. So why not have that level of surveillance? So there is an equilibrium here. I'm not a complete Luddite in saying that this technology is always doomed, but within a system where, as Mr. Stallman was saying, that everything is related to proprietary arrangements, then like there is only one determining factor in all that. They who control it can take advantage of that system, i.e. for profit or for just the sake of power itself. So we need a system, we need a social formation that values particular unalienable rights, like the right to own and control your own data and to choose when or not you're being surveilled and for what purpose. So, you know, something to think about. Rage within the machine. I like that. That can be our little anti-surveillance cap motto. Rage within the machine. Indoctrinating, the more people like that make normal people question the powers that be, the better. Yes. Good stream today, man. Catch you next time. Squeep89, war driving is an old school approach to scanning, surveilling your surrounding Wi-Fi. People don't personally do things like that anymore. Less personal interest in scanning and knowing now. Avalava says, Indonesia has been the topic of FJ's producers regarding their attacks on people in PNG. Interesting. I'm not across the FJ stuff. But interesting to know. It's quite topical, apparently. All right. I'm going to leave it there. But thank you, everyone, for coming along. I'd like to say special call-outs. Voltateur at the start coming in. Indoctrinathan. Mario coming along. I hope you enjoyed your shit. Dilemmas. Thank you for your contributions today. Matt Bonds, good to have you. And who else have I missed? Have I missed anyone else? Squeeb89, of course. Dr. Tyrano, good to have you. And Avalava on the stream chat in Discord. So yes, if that is you and you've been watching this and you're thinking to yourself, what the hell's going on? What do I keep referring to? It is one last time. Here is the information. And also here is the Patreon details. If you are interested, which I highly suggest you should be, please go over to Patreon, sign up there for free so you can get notifications, because social media just doesn't work. We've been speaking about dodgy algorithms all day, and they are dodgy. So come over there and I can get stuff out to you. And if you can financially support, that would be great. I would appreciate that greatly. Tomorrow we will be on Twitch. We're going to be continuing with the Twitch files. That is where we get down and dirty and do some real crazy stuff that we can't really do on YouTube. So if you're hardcore like that, then come over to this Twitch files. We are currently reading through Project 2025, which is the conservative promise for America. Basically, it is a document that is supposed to be guiding the Republican president at the moment, who is none other than Donald Trump. And some of the stuff in there is like crazy accurate on what is actually happening at the moment. And tomorrow, I think we're up to the intelligence community. We're up to like probably the juiciest part of Project 2025, which is, like I said, their vision for what should be happening with the American like intelligence services, like the actual deep state. So if you want to go along to Twitch and become a follower or a subscriber over there so you don't miss out on anything. Until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for the stream. Cheers.